advice because I've been mentoring other RVPs and SVPs about just the process because I'm just in a space. The most dangerous person is the person who has nothing to lose. And so that makes it, in fact, if you are not frustrated, then you aren't working this business. So you got to understand, once you decide to become a leader, you put a target on your back for everybody to blame you for their demise. Is everybody with me on that so far?
Yes.
And so in that, you have to truly be able to take the burden of that. You know, I like to tell people, if you aren't, this will be the, I mean, I like scaring people out of this before they start. This will be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life because everything you don't like about yourself will show up. If you talk too much, it's going to show up. If you don't talk enough, it will show up. If you don't dress appropriately, it will show up. Whatever it is about you that you know you need to fix, you know, because how many of us are on a fixed income? Don't raise your hand, then we need to fix it. It's real simple. Is everybody with me on that so far? And so you have to be on the court 24/7. If you're going to get in shape, it's not just going to the gym 3, 4, 5 times a week. It's how you eat. It's the sleep that you get. It's the skills and the habits that you develop. It's a mindset. That's why you want to impregnate somebody mentally that you are going to be the example that people want to follow. Is everybody with me on that so far? You must be the example that people want to follow. In that, as people start to hear your message as you become a messenger, then the right people will follow and the wrong ones will fall off. You want the wrong ones to fall off. That's why there's seasons. You want dead leaves to go away. Leave. Is everybody with me on that so far?
Yes.
Let my people go. So you got to ask yourself, are you prepared to take on the journey of changing your life? Because a lot of people get into business, but very few people do the business. That's why step one in getting started is to make a decision. That's why from a biblical perspective, Jesus was the Word before he was Jesus, because he was the Word. You got to understand language. You also understand you're in relationship marketing. So if your business is not growing, it's because you aren't relating to anybody. And if your business is not growing, that means you have not sold out on why you're doing this business. Doesn't mean that you don't have a why. Doesn't mean that you don't understand why you're doing it. It means that other people can see you transparently with you oscillating and have one foot in and one foot out. Is anybody catching this conversation?
Yes.
You have a lot of things going on. You're multitasking. You got this, and this going on. You haven't learned how to prioritize. See, if your son or your daughter needed a heart transplant, I don't care what else was going on in your life, that would be the topic of your discussion every single minute of every hour of every day. See, my why was that I just never wanted to work again in my life. My why now goes into a much deeper conversation I don't have time to go into today. But that why is what leads my conversation. And in that, you have to also, behind that decision, behind the decision, as we already know, DE, Latin derivative, there which it came from, side, suicide, genocide, pesticide, that means there's an action that takes place they're following. Most people don't take action. They decide to get into business. They don't decide to do the business. So they go to a whole bunch of meetings. They try and throw a couple of failure of home meetings, and they're doing these activities. They're busy being broke. And then they say, well, I'm putting in all this time and I'm working, but nothing's happening. No, you aren't doing anything that is, write this down for those taking really good notes, result-oriented. You have to become an MVP. You must become the most valuable player on your team. Where you are not looking for your upline, you aren't looking for your downline, you aren't looking for some sideline, you aren't waiting for the SVPs, you aren't waiting for your RVPs. You must become that person that people are looking for. I couldn't wait until RVPs, after I started getting them to come into my area, started leaving the area because I wanted the ball. If you know champion mentalities right now, I mean, LeBron is a beast. I mean, if you watch basketball, he's just, you know, I don't care whether you like him or not. I mean, there's a long time that I didn't like Kobe, but Kobe is a beast. He's just unstoppable. It has nothing to do with whether they win or lose. It's a championship mentality. And when you gather that fire, when you raise the climate for everybody else to play well. Does everybody follow me on that so far? Yeah. And I go through this through every area when I start a new area because people become dependent upon whether I show up or not. And I know there's conversations about me missing last week. And there's going to be conversations when I miss again. And I understand that. And guess what? When you decide to become the leader and you miss out on something, they're going to have conversations about you. But if you have an amazing team, then you actually do what you need to do. See, Kobe had no control over him messing up his ankle and somebody going underneath him. But when he got out of the game and he just showed up for a couple minutes, what happened? His team galvanized and just won the last game. Same thing with Knicks, with Carmelo going out. Their team galvanized when they got out the game. Same thing with Atlanta. When they lost the #1 player in the game playing point guard, their team is now rising and galvanizing because they knew that as a climate, as a team, that they couldn't let the leader down if the leader really believed in them, or if they didn't believe in themselves and they were supposed to be benched and get kicked off the team anyway. Then you can just play like you're Byron and not play off season. It's okay. Does this make sense to anybody? It's a sobering conversation. Because you have to take responsibility. The word responsibility is the ability to respond. Not react. Respond. At that point, that's when your light shines. That's when leaders emerge. It's in the darkest hour of everything that is happening in your life. That's when you find out what you're truly made of, when nobody else is there for you. When you don't think you have enough money to get through the month, and then you have something greater to come. Allah, Jesus, I call God. My Father, He will never let you down. There's no way you would still be here if there was not something greater than you to rise. And you were born, every one of you were born for greatness. Why would you play a mediocre life? Why would you do that? You have to learn how to ignite a fire inside of your belly. People need to hear you and see you before you show up. I was talking to a couple of people in Australia. They said, everywhere we go, and you know, I had a conversation yesterday, and a guy said, I went to the meeting and I live here, and do you live here in Australia? He didn't know I didn't live in Australia. I was like, no, I visit once a year. He said, everybody in the room knows you, but nobody knows me. I said, that's because my job is to ignite a fire in other people by being a fire. First, you have to be a fire. You have to be a flame. It has nothing to do with ACN. I said, I'm an impact player. That's just what I do. There's no way you could ever meet me and then come back and say, have you ever met Byron Nelson? It sounds familiar. No, either you met me or you didn't. You'll never forget me in your entire life. 20 years now, you can come to one meeting and see somebody a year, 10 years, 20 years. Did you? Yeah, I know. I've seen this crazy tall black ball. Yes! Person said, well, Mr. Nelson, you're amazing. I said, don't blame me, blame God. I said, it's not my fault if you don't see the greatness in you. I see the greatness in you, but my job is not to raise the dead, it's to give birth to the new. So my job is not to drag you along. It's easier to run with 3 than to drag 1,000. So don't get caught up in all the people that aren't running with you or don't see it. See, if you're caught up in the Joneses, looking to the left and right, and all the people you're talking to, then you got to understand, in a pack of 100, only 3% is going to actually become wealthy. But you have to establish and decide you're going to live in that 3%. Is anybody getting this so far?
Yes.
See, I don't believe in lack. I believe in abundance. There's nothing that I worship, none of my prayers, none of my meditation that leaves me in a space that I know what was already bestowed to each one of us, ordained to be able to manage and truly, be dominion over all. We are supposed to be great. So at what point do you not have enough time? At what time do you not have enough money? At what time did you accept this is okay? And how long are you going to accept it is even worse? And are you going to keep passing that on to your children? Because you might as well just go to your children and gather them up. I love looking at kids. Well, I was listening to the presentation at the end of Tamika's, and then as Jamila came up, I'm actually looking at these kids. They have no fear. They're running around, rolling on the ground, knees. They don't care if you get scuffed. We get older, and every experience you had creates this entire fear wall in you about what people think, what they're going to say, how they feel about what you're doing. Should I approach this person? Well, I need to know the right language to talk to this person. How about, hello, are you open to making some money? It kind of works. There's no secrets in this business. It's a real simple business. Once you get past yourself, think about it. You're talking about, you should be doing 10 a day, but let's just say you get 5 a day times 5 in the work week, that gives you 25 prospects a week, times 4 weeks, that gives you 100 prospects a week. How many people do you need to actually get to ETL 3? How many people do you need to get to ETL 3, Team Coordinator 3, RD 3, if you understand the marketing plan? So 2/3 of the marketing plan, you need 3 unstoppable people. It is impossible, virtually impossible, to not find 3 people in this economy, with the downsizing, with the losing of homes, with the single parents, what's going on with the jobs and people working overtime, undertime, and around time. It is virtually impossible, with people in school, with kids that can't pay for their student loans, with kids having to drop out and go to a JC. It is virtually impossible to not be able to find 3 people in a 30-day period of time that have the fire of a dragon in their belly, that are looking for something and waiting for someone to bless them. So you got to ask yourself, am I being a blessing, or am I actually just being dependent? Am I actually being a servant, or am I being needy? Do I whine a lot? Because in that case, we'll just get you some cheese and serve it. It's impossible. And you got to be careful, because the simplest way to be able to build this business is to cut off the branches. You got to prune the tree. You got to learn how to let people go. Because you can take the 5 people closest to you, and they'll tell you who you are. And if you don't have anybody around you, then that's even worse, because now you're trying to do everything yourself. And I know that's a lot of people in this room's problem, is that you're trying to do everything on your own because you don't want to be dependent. But we have to be great followers before we become great leaders. Did that make sense? Did anybody follow?
Yes.
I mean, you had Oscar Robinson, you had Jabal and Kareem, you had, Dr. J, you have Michael Jordan, you have Magic and, and Bird, you have now Kobe, now you have LeBron. There's a kid right now, 4 years away, doesn't even know his greatness. And it's going to wake up and he's going to turn everybody's head. You think that you've seen the best? You haven't seen the best. The path was just open to know what is doable and can be done. I have people say all the time, well, Mr. Nelson's not duplicatable. I'm not. Blame God. I'm not supposed to be duplicated. You aren't supposed to duplicate me. You need to find your own greatness. I cried for 5 years speaking Mandela's speech, trying to be small for other people. Never again. Spotlight on me. Does that make sense to everybody?
It sure does.
And you don't have to be boisterous. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be a great orator. I know people that don't put 2 words together that are quiet giants because how they serve in other people's lives. Excuse me. Help enough people get what they want, you get everything you want by default. If you help enough people get what they want, the trick in that conversation is you have to help the right people. Because many times we'll help the wrong people, but you got to understand, you got to help enough the wrong people to know what people not to help them.
That's right. That's right.
You have to go through enough bad relationships to know what a good relationship is. Me and my mother were talking, we've been trading stories a lot lately. She talked about her marriage. And thank you, sir. She was talking about her marriage and how she would go out and with 2 other women, and they'd be capping hands about, my man, see, he's just controlling, and my man this, and my man this, and if he want to do this, he can go off. That's how we get together and talk about other things until they leave. In one relationship, her husband, they're no longer together. My mother saw that happen. And the other one, they're just estranged. They live on 2 different separate sides of the house. And they had read the obituary me, my mother, and my sister wrote. And she said, I never knew that you felt that way about your husband, that he was that amazing, that he was so providing, that he was so loving, that he was so that you guys off of each adversity built on that adversity, where most people, when adversity happens, they want to look for a way out. And my sister chimed in on the conversation and said, Mom, the reason why she could not see that with all the times you guys went out to dinner and had coffee and had drinks is because she couldn't relate to it because she didn't have it in her own life. You got to be careful of who you surround yourself with, because there's some people that will talk you out of your greatest blessings and people who serve in your life, because there's no one perfect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is not just relating to husband and wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend, friends and friends, co-workers. Everything is around you. You got to figure out that how are you contributing? You'll figure out how life will contribute back to you. And it'll never come from the people you expect. Because just even in this business, it's never the person that you think that's going to go RVP, SVP. It's never the person you think that is going to be the star in your business. It's somebody who's told somebody who told somebody. And the person you invest all the time in, you feel like you wasted your time, but you didn't, because you honed your skill. It goes into the story of the man that was, God told him to push on the rock. He said, I wanted this, this, and this, and he's pushing on the rock, pushing on the rock. Some of my family has heard me say this story. And after he pushed on it for so long, the devil came and had a conversation with him and said, you've been pushing on this rock, and the rock hasn't moved. You've been pushing and pushing. You know that he just has you wasting your time. So he started doing just what he needed to do. And that's what happens in this business. You start doing just what you need to do. not what you have to do. This is going somewhere. Does everybody follow me on that so far?
Yes.
So he said, before I give up on this faith of pushing on this rock and not knowing why I'm pushing on the rock, let me go talk to God. So he goes and he talks to God. And he said, God, I just need to have, I haven't seen you, you haven't been around, you haven't been pushing on this rock, I need to have a conversation with you. He said, nothing has moved here. And God looked at me and said, I never told you to move the rock. He said, the faith of a mustard seed. It's my job to move the mountain. It's my job to move the rock. I never told you to move the rock. Now your body is 10 times stronger. Your tones, your back is strong. Your legs are like, just beef. Your mindset, your concentration, your ADD is gone. Your being able to focus, you're being able to now take care of your family and till the land is beyond any measure. And you question what I did. It's kind of like Karate Kid, wax off, wax off. Stop trying to figure out the how and the why and just go to work and you'll figure everything else out. It's impossible for you to talk to 5 to 10 people a day. 5 minimum, 10 is what you should seek. And not learn what to say. You want to know what to say to this person. What do I say to a white person? What do I say to a black person? What do I say to an Arab person? What do I say to a business owner? What do I say to a student? What do I say to somebody who's massively successful? What do I say to a church? What do I deal with in a nonprofit? How do I deal with somebody who has 3 jobs? How do I deal with somebody who doesn't have any time? How do I deal with a single parent? How do I deal with somebody in another state? If you talk to enough people, you will figure out what to say. It's impossible. You don't learn how to ride a bicycle by reading 3 books and then getting on the bike. You get on, you fall off, you get on, you fall off. That's how you learn how to do something.
That's right.
And once you learn how to do this, once you know 2 + 2 is 4, nobody can convince you that it's 5. See, you can take me and drop me in the middle of any city, any state, any country. I don't even have to speak the language. I'm going to get rich. Because I learned how to serve people. I learned how to just be able to open. You don't even have to open your mouth. You can be a deaf, dumb mute. And just be like, hey, here's what you did. Somebody's going to look at it and be like, wow. Because it's the game of exposure. It's the one who's going to share it with the most people. And there's so many different mediums in being able to share it. I mean, I have my business cards with me. I'll show them to you. You guys are all in business, so you won't get one. But my business cards cost me $1,500 for $250. You have other people in here saying, oh, I got to pay $500. You got people sitting down, oh, it costs $500. Well, okay, what, you know. Just one load, not including I get 1,000, but just one set of 250 cost me $1,500. Well, they say, well, you're an RVP. No, I've been doing this since day one. I go broke understanding because I studied wealth. I've studied multimillionaires before I got to the billionaire status of studying from billionaires today. I studied people that had massive success. I studied CAA, which is Creative Artist Agency, for anyone who understands the entertainment and arts industry. And they said, literally, it was 4 Jewish guys. They sat in a 400 square foot apartment. There's a book called The Empire of Their Own, amazing book. And they sat in a 400 square foot apartment. They spent all their money on their suits, making sure their nails were manicured, making sure their shoes were shined. They made sure their presentation was stellar. And they would trade off on each other in conversation and being able to share what their mission was when they talked to somebody. And they would not negotiate. They would not change based on who they talked to. This is what we're doing. We're going to create the greatest stars in the world. And you might want to get with us. Now, you can get with us now, or it's going to cost you. At the next conversation we have, now we're willing to give you 20%. And the next conversation, I'm only going to give you 10. And they built it like that, and they just kept going because they never wavered. They understood going broke at whatever cost financially, knowing that the investment was never the money, it was the time. And the price for success is paid for in full, up front. There's no layaway plan. I'm not in ACN, I am ACN. I don't go out to do my business. I live and let the business come to me. You need to become that light that business is looking for you. But it takes 2 years of laying a foundation, and you'll have 8 years of business being thrown at you that you don't have enough time or energy to manage and maintain your own business. But it is going to take 2 years. But how many people don't mind a 2-year tenure to get to a 6-figure a year income that's coming in residually, that can turn into a 6-figure a month income, and paying the price of hell to be able to do it? Because if we're already going through hell anyway with lack of time and lack of money for our kids, our family, and people we love, we might as well choose our own poison. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
And when you can look at a business that is so extraordinary. I don't have to ask anybody for money out of their pocket. I don't have to change their buying habits. I don't have to go back to them and say, do you need some more of it? All I gotta do is say, do you want to save money on a bill you already have? And I don't even have to sell that. Because I'm able to just, all I have to do is acquire 30 yeses. 30 yeses, and it puts you well over 50 points. Because I'm not looking for 50 points. I'm looking for over in case somebody moves. 50 points allows you to maximize the comp plan. That means 10% on every bill you'll ever acquire. And then that's going to be duplicated. Now you may build a team of, let's say you got up to 10 exposures a day. 10 exposures a day puts you at 200 exposures a month. Everybody with me on this so far in the math? And over that period of time of 200, let's say I was the worst person to ever do ACN and I only got a 10% closing ratio. That means this month I had 20 people come into my business. Now 20 people gives me a minimum of $3,000 at ETT. That's $3,000 a month in upfront money, not including that I only had 20 people get in my business, which means I have 180 other people who are potential customers. And of those 20 people, let's just say that I only had 3 people do what I did. Now the other 17, they just got in and messed around, and month after month they were going through divorce, they were challenged with their job, they were challenged with downsizing, they're challenged with money. They have all these challenges, but 3 people said, I'm the one you're looking for. I'm going to do everything I'm supposed to do, that I have to do, and even what I don't have to do, because I'm that type of person that if you tell me to go shoot 10 free throws, I'm shooting 20. Does this make sense? Everybody with me? Now, if you had 3 people that did what you did last month, and they went out and talked to 10 people a day, now that's 3 times 200, that's 600 plus your 200 in the second month, that's 800 people that have been exposed to the opportunity. And if you were still the worst person to ever do the business and only close up 10% of the people that were exposed, that's 80 new business partners getting into your business. 80 new franchises, 80 new IBOs, independent business owners, starting their business, all out there, working their business. And if they all work 1 hour this week, your work week will look like you had an 80-hour time card. Is this helping anybody? Yes. Numbers never lie. I was having this conversation with the person last night, and I was just like, look, what position are you at? She said, I'm at ETL. I said, when are you going to hit team coordinator? She said, real soon. I plan on doing it in the next couple of months. I said, how many trainers does it take to get to team coordinator? She looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, how many how many IBOs does it take? She said, I know it takes 600 points. I said, no. How many IBOs, how many business partners does it take? And so I had to break down. I said, not knowing exactly how many customer points you need to earn each position, not having specific goals on a daily, weekly, monthly basis kills your business. That's like trying to put together a cake and without any measuring tools, you're putting in some flour, some sugar, some water, and then putting it in the oven and hoping it's going to come out as a nice cake. That's just stupid. I said, that's why it's called free radicals. That's why you work a job, because somebody else coordinates and tells you what the measurements are, so that you're only doing certain measurements. That's why you're at the beck and call of a check that's not even worth your time. That's why you're comfortable getting, because you're just part of the design. To whom much is given, much is required. You want the entire cake, then you need to take ownership of the kitchen and learn how to employ the efforts of other people. That's why you have compounding interest, just like in real estate, compounding efforts. Everything should be compounding. I love the butterfly effect. As I learned from a billionaire, if your money is not multiplying, you don't have any. Most people add and subtract. Every month, your money should be expanding. That's why it's called exponential. Every month, you shouldn't be waiting 2 years for a raise for somebody to tell you should just be lucky you have a job. Not even get a raise, but be downsized. That's what's going on. They're saying we're going to take 20% of your income and you should be happy. Are you kidding me? That's called modern day slavery. You don't even have to be black to know that.
And more. Right?
Right? So, I mean, this is what we're dealing with right now, is designing a life. That's what you have to do. My conversation is not even mine today. I'll tell you it's God. Mine is just to give you a message to make sure you understand how to take ownership of your business. Today is a due day. Now, would you like to start your dating life, right, today, and erase everything in your past, not your mistakes, not your pain, but everything you've ever done in dating, and start all over again today? Or would you like to go out and have to date today if you were single, and take the wisdom of all the mistakes you've made in your past and be able to start today?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing in this business. You're standing, that's the blessing. I'm not here to tell you how wrong you are. I'm telling you how great you are in just standing, because most people don't stand this long. 80% of, I can honestly say, if you looked at the numbers, we'll go through it, 70% quit within the first week. Another 10% quits within the first 30 days. 5% more quits within the first 90 days. And you're left with 5% that stands for a year. But it's no different than anything else. You see people go get a membership to a gym, 70% quit within the first 30 days. The next 10% stands around for a month or two. Another 10% leaves. Is everybody following me on this so far? My point is, you have to establish that you have long-term vision, that you're here for the long haul. The one thing I can guarantee you, you will fail, and can always guarantee your failure if you quit. That's one of the first things I learned in this game. People ask me all the time, how did you stand for 17 years? The guy looked at me, and I'll never forget it. It was in my first week of doing the business. He said, look to your left and look to your right, and within the next week to the next 30 days, 2 out of the 3 is going to be gone. He said, look to the left and right again. Within the next 60 days, 2 out of that 3 is going to be gone. In the year, there's about 100 people in the room. He said, look again, they're going to be gone, 2 out of 3. I actually stood up in the middle of the room and said, could all y'all leave now? Because I'm not going nowhere. I need to understand what's going on. He might as well just train me by himself, since all y'all going to quit. Because he said, I mean, literally, I'll never forget, it was an amazing conversation. He said, if your upline quit, and your upline RVP quit, would you still stand? And that really caught me, because it was my first 30 days of doing the business. I had to think about it, because we put our trust in the person who brought us to the business. I mean, his mother brought him into business. What would happen if the mother quit? The odds are, most people would be like, I quit. My mom quit. She was my inspiration for getting in. Tamika, you know, my friend that I had, she quit. I mean, it would shake you, yes or yes. It can't help. And once I understood, I said, you know what? Ray Carbazano would have to die, and I'd have to wait at least 3 months to make sure he didn't resurrect himself. And if the checks kept coming, I'd still stay in the business. And I understood that if it was going to be, it was going to be up to me. That's why you're hearing my conversation that I sponsor myself. You have to be that person. And I mean, I remember Montrell Jackson. You guys don't know the name. Amazing soul. Just his smile was just, I just remember I wanted his smile. I remember that so clearly, because it was so transparent. His laugh was loud, mine is loud. His smile would just be like, he was always happy. I wanted that feeling. Does anybody understand that? I wanted to be happy all the time. It's like, I got bills, I got this, I got problems, I got relations, I want to, how are you so happy? All the time. And I wanted that. And he wasn't even my direct upline, he's just somebody who I went to go emulate. But he was in the lineage, and I'll never forget, he came to the area for about 2 months back to back, as I do in most areas. And then he started coming once a month, and he started coming, and then he promised to come and do a presentation for me. He said, if you fill up the room, I'm going to show up. Now, I didn't do this. This wasn't intentional last week, just so y'all know. I'm just sharing with you what happened to me. Because I wouldn't be here today if I was supposed to. But I filled the room up with 150 people. And he called and he said, something happened an hour before, I can't make it.
What?
I was like, I was upset. And the second time it happened. And the first time I said, shame on me. Second time it's not going to happen. He said, my job is to prepare you to be able to run your own business and be a warrior. Now, how are you going to tell me that you're upset that your upline didn't show up for a presentation and you didn't have more than 5 people showing up to the presentation in the first place. What the hell are you upset about? You guys do home meetings and don't have 5 people in a home meeting. What are you upset about? Now, if you had 100 people show up, you got a reason. I had a reason to be upset. I had 150.
Yeah.
And he dropped me in the ocean, but he had trained me for 4 months before that, and he taught me how to swim. Same thing my father did, and he died. I was actually really upset and pissed off. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. If somebody close to you dies, I was pissed off at my father for dying. Because my father wasn't supposed to die. He's just too great. He's just too... I know how powerful my father is. I know how much of a warrior he is. I know he knew that he was going to die. Why didn't you tell me you were going when you went to leave? Because I knew you. I know you knew. Through a lot of prayer and meditation, he's like, I built you. I prepared you. How many more years do you want? Most people don't even get 1 or 2 or 3. Some never even have a father. What the hell are you pissed off at? When you train a person properly and you give them all the tools and you understand this business to the degree that it's not that difficult and it's not that much to teach, because all we do is help people save money and help people make money. What else you need? And learn how to present the business. What do you know how to read a 1 through 10. That's all I'm going to do. I show up, all I'm going to do is 1 through 10. What makes mine any better than yours? What makes mine any better than the people that surround you? Because until you learn how to lift each other up, you won't have a business in Arizona. Because this is your area. See, I can come in and they're going to listen to me, but I'm going to get on a plane today and I'm going to go home. See, people are looking at you to see what you're doing. People are watching. Even the people that said, I need to think about it, they don't need to think about it. They're waiting to watch you. They're waiting to see what you're going to do. They're going to ask you at Christmas. They're going to ask you at Easter. They're going to ask you at Mom's birthday. They're going to ask you when you're at work. They're going to ask you when it's little Johnny's baseball game. They're going to ask you, so how is that business doing? Because they're already doing it. And they can see in your eye. They can see if you're transparent that you're 100% sold out or it's going well. Going well. It's not going at all. And they can see that. Just like if you have a child, you can tell when a child is lying to you. Did you take that? No. You know that child took it, but nobody else in the house who took it. Is this making sense? Is it making sense?
Yes.
My mentor used to always say, show up, pay attention, take action. I really never understood that. I say that all the time, and sometimes you have to hear it again, because even if I tell you today and you're brand new, it's not going to make sense till 90 days later. Show up, pay attention, take action. That means you have to show up. You got to physically be here, mentally you got to be here, emotionally you got to be here. I was always the first one to show up and the last one to leave. There's a lot of things I didn't like when I first started. And I used to talk to the people that mentored me, and they said, well, you have 2 options. I said, okay. They said, number 1, you can quit. I said, that's not an option. They said, then you need to emerge and become an RVP. That was the top position when I started the company. There was no SVP. They said, you need to become an RVP, and that way you can run your camp however you want to. I said, I like that option. I was like, the trainings go too long. Okay, change it. I said, become an RVP, build your camp. You can go as long as you want, as short as you want, do whatever you want to do, because your documentation now is the presentation. It will always be conversation. The right ones will be drawn to you, the wrong ones will go away. Because if a person was going to quit, they were going to quit anyway. That's what you got to remember. Don't get upset when people quit. It's kind of like, why did Joe lie? Because that's what liars do. They lie. Why did XYZ quit? Because that's what quitters do. They were looking for a reason to quit anyway. And the ones that create the most problems are the ones that go away the fastest within 30 or 60 days. And you can even see that in this. I just started this, not my newest group, because I started a new group in LA over the last 2 weeks, but in this group, you can see the ones that had the biggest problems with the way things were being done, they aren't around anymore. They go away. They have all the conversation. They want to talk about what the Joneses are doing. They want to talk the gossip. They want to tell you what this person is doing. They want to tell you what this person is doing right and wrong. how this person lives, and this person is over here and they drink, and this person over here and they smoke, and this person's sleeping with X, Y, Z, and they go away. Because, see, if you have time to talk about somebody else, you don't have enough going on in your own life.
That's right. Amen.
People ask me about people all the time. I was like, I don't know. What do you think about X, Y, Z? I don't know. I don't think about it. I got too much going on in my own life. And the character is everything. Take notes. Character. The integrity of your character. To build trust in people, to know in every way that you're doing the right thing. That's probably the thing that resonates with me most of the last 3 weeks, is knowing that I want my Father's character. That someone can look at me and say, he would never do that. You know, money's missing. It wasn't Byron. Who else was in the room? You see what I'm saying? It's like, well, he was with this man's wife. He wouldn't do that. I mean, I get a chills just thinking about it, because the integrity of who my father was, what I want to be known as, what I want to be seen as. Am I going to be human? Yes. Am I going to make mistakes? Yes. But to stay on track, to stay on point, to go back, it's a rubber band. If you build that muscle. Is everybody with me on that so far? Yes. You have to build that tight rubber band, not that loose rubber band, where you can just do anything and think everything's going to be all right. Because you are going to have to pay the piper. My mother has another story, I'm sorry, we just had. She used the example, because one of her favorite people and songstress was Whitney Houston. Said, you will be forgiven, but your blessing and your gift will be taken. Is what my mom said. She said, you can come back. He will allow you to come back. You will be forgiven. Same thing in human life. You will be forgiven, but it will never be the same. See, trust is like money. Once it's lost, you can't get it again. You can go earn it again in a different way, even maybe with somebody else, but you can't get that dollar back. Once it's gone, it's gone. Does this make sense? Everybody understand this?
Yes.
So, how are we doing? We good?
Yeah.
Let's get into some meat. Have my little napkin. One of the things that you need to do here in this area is critical, is recruit up. You guys are recruiting broke people. That's another reason. It's not that you guys aren't working hard. You're recruiting all broke people. The poor can't help the poor. It's a business. I know you guys have big hearts and you want to help your people that you know are hurting in life and they don't have, you know, and this person, you know. I came across, while I was in Chicago last weekend, a young lady that was working. I need to throw it back. A young lady that was, I know, I have so much going on. This young lady, right, this is just jogging. And we went to Macy's, and she had a great personality, so I gave her my card, and I said, are you a business-minded person? Are you an assistant? And, you know, she said, yes, I am. She said, you know, I've been blessed. And so we got into a whole spiritual conversation. She says, I so thank you. She said, my sister so needs this. And I said, thank you. And so I said, tell me about your sister. Well, she hasn't worked in 6 months. I said, you need this. I was like, I don't want to talk to your sister yet. You're working 2 jobs, and your sister can't find one. Something's wrong with this picture. So I follow me on this. I said, now I'd love to talk to your sister, but I need to understand what's going on with you first, that you're working 2 jobs and think you don't need an opportunity. So I share that to say that you have to learn how to identify who you're going to put on your board of directors, who you're going to help save money is altogether different. But when you're putting together, are you going to go get people who have no resources, no personality, no people skills, no attention span, closed-minded, are used to doing something just one way, have a opinion about everything? Or are you going to find somebody who, you're to be people, you want people that are successful, you know, you want people that are busy. Busy people make things happen. I know a lot of you like, I don't want to call them because they're always busy, I don't know what to say to them. Busy people get things done. People that have a lot of time on their hands take forever to get things done because they think that they have all the time in the world. Busy people are like, let me get this done because I got other stuff I got to get to. They're never going to slow down. Find busy people, find successful people, find people that have a sphere of influence. I look for people who have a big personality, an amazing attitude, and people that have a lot going on. and that are open, because, and you never know until you ask, because there are a lot of busy people that are busy authentically, right? But until I say, look, I know you're really busy, but are you open to making another stream of income? Are you open to multiple streams of income? I mean, if there's another way of adding, maybe an extra $5, $10, $15, $20,000 to your bank account, that could get your time back so that you can let go of some of that stuff and be at home with the kids, would you be interested? And 5 will say no, and 5 will say yes. But it's just as hard, listen to me, it's just as difficult to recruit a successful person as it is a broke person. Mm-hmm. And the broke person is going to cost you more grief and have the wrong attitude.
Yep.
So you're spending time convincing and listening to opinions and dealing with these people that you know need an opportunity. Well, there's a lot of fat people out there that need a gym. There's a lot of heathens out there that need God. But they have to want to go to the gym. They have to want to be saved. A person who wants to get an education has to want to go to college. Or they're just going to quit anyway. Does that make sense? Is everybody following me?
Yes.
You got to learn how to ask pre-qualifying questions. Write that down for those right now. Pre-qualifying questions that save you a lot of time. 1 minute on 100 as opposed to 100 minutes on one. 1 minute on 100 people as opposed to 100 minutes on one. Mm-hmm. Expectation. I just said that again. I want you guys to hear it again. The moment you have expectations of other people, you will always be let down. Mm-hmm. Stop expecting from anyone other than the person in the mirror. Show up for your own rescue. Mm-hmm. Gotta have a team. I'm just touching on different topics. I'm going to come back to it. Is you all right with me? Mm-hmm. Once you're recording, you can send me a copy. Got it? Mm-hmm. Got it? Got it? Because it's hitting different nerves, and there's a lot to expand on, and we don't have the time today. The team is everything. How you build this team. Obviously, there's people here from Joe Courtney's team. There's not many people that I let into my training. I think I got maybe 3 transplants in this room. But aside from that, I mean, it's because literally, if you guys know Joe Courtney, then you know his heart and you know his mind. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I assemble myself with people that I believe and know what they want. I mean, and are going to go where they're going to go. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that's pretty amazing about me. I tell people God gave me 100 things to do, 99 I'm bad at. But the one thing I do, I know how to identify leaders. I know how to identify greatness. I've always been extraordinary at that. I mean, and it's happened in and out of this business consistently. Now, and I mean, there's stories beyond that. But you have to learn how to have that team. So what do I mean by that? That means that Veronica and Sharisa, in theory, I'm just using them as an example. I mean, if I'm not having success, and I didn't have any guests here today, and I didn't have the guests that I wanted this past week on a Saturday and through the last 2 weeks, why wouldn't I have somebody that I team up with that is evenly yoked in desire and spend an hour a night putting people on the phone with the other person? I mean, it only costs you an hour a day to make your bills go away. Instead of me talking to them, why don't I just get, if I'm Veronica, and say, Sharisa, just talk to him. Sharisa's talking and talking and talking. You can't necessarily have an opinion about that person, because if I serve in each other's life, my skills are going to get greater together. My conversations are going to get great. I'm going to learn even more so. I'm going to learn what's great about Veronica. I'm going to get a shark fin. If I talk to Veronica, because I'm just telling you, I'm just using them as an example because I know the two. Veronica's a shark. She's very strong. She's very dominant. She's going to tell you the way she feels. She's going to tell you what it is. She's very sharp. Those skills are great in a specific spectrum. And Sharisa is a well. She's going to tell you about her love for her family and what's going on in her life and about saving the world and the ozone layer. She's going to be able to reach people that Veronica can't. And Veronica's going to reach people that she can't. What you're going to find out is that Veronica's going to grow part of a well in her conversation and see the amazing enlightening and the potency of caring about people in a certain way of a conversation. And you're going to see that Sharisa's conversation is going to grow a fin. Mm-hmm. And And you aren't going to worry about who gets in and who doesn't get in. You're just going to talk to people, and you're going to play a game of how many people can I put on the phone with you each hour of the day that we have identified to work our business. But you guys aren't working together like that. That's why nobody has any guys except for one counts. Because it'll be impossible unless, it's just impossible. Each one of you guys should have at least 5 guests here. On a bad day, it should be standing room only. And it wouldn't matter if it was me or if it was Greg Provenzano. You aren't working your business properly because it's a plague. Success is a plague also. It's also contagious. Does that make sense to everybody? And here's what I'm praying and breathing. It only takes one person in here to be able to change the entire climate of the world. One person who decides that they want to change their own life. You will change millions by deciding to change your own. And to change every life that's around you. You have to get that flame in you. People have to hear that in your conversation. They have to see that in your eyes. It's impossible to hear my conversation. There's nobody who would tell me this is interesting. They'd be almost scared to, because I tell them, they'd be just, are you stuck on stupid? Maybe 2 out of 100, and I'm going to confront them. But after you hear my conversation, you're either in, or it's just, I can't do this. It's just something I can't do. But they aren't going to have an opinion about it like, oh, it's one of those things. They won't tell me that. See, if I talk to a prospect for you, they'll tell you that because they know you'll listen to it. It's like having a parent. You know the father or you know the parent to go and you don't talk stupid to that parent. And you know the parent that will listen to all your crap. It's going to be okay, baby. And you just whine and they let you get away with it and you know who to butter up to and how to get over. I'm not that parent. I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to accept it. It's just not going to happen. Either you're going to stand or you're going to fall. It doesn't matter. I'm in. I paid my $4.99 17 years ago. I'm not going nowhere. Everybody's going to do what they're going to do. I've seen the blessings beyond my own of what it's done for so many people who truly were committed to changing their life. I've seen a bartender become flat out a 7-figure player. I've seen an Olympic runner become a 7-figure player. I've watched an 18-year-old become a 7-figure player by 25. I'm watching, if you guys are on my Facebook, I watched a kid from 26 to now 36 pay $244,000 cash for his Ferrari. Who lived in a 400 square foot apartment and called me the second week he was in the business while I was at Brian Sack's wedding, asking me, if I get into this business, can I buy a Lear plane? So now he's bought a Bentley, he's bought a Ferrari, he's bought a yacht, he has a 10,000 square foot home, property everywhere. He's a huge kid, let alone all the rest of his toys. But not only that, he's helped his mother become an SVP, a 7-figure player. He's helped his brother and his sister. He has an entire family, his father, everybody who never believed. He decided and everybody else believed. And other people, he has other, Greg Carter and everybody else, at RVP buying Bentleys with one check. He helps everybody else, no matter what people think of him. People are always going to have an opinion, but and you can say he's arrogant. And I'll tell you, this is a Mormon who thinks he's black. But you think he can. It is what it is. This boy is off the chain. Falls on my 47th level, and I remember he was in a 400 square foot apartment, could not afford a suit. He went back home. He was riding around on his bicycle. That's not a story. I remember it like it was yesterday. And he went to Utah, and he got a bus. And they had meetings in Utah, but they only had long distance. And Jeff Weber, who's on my 7th level, who was a bartender, who's now a multimillionaire, went to him and said, if you're serious, bring me 44 people to the next regional. He didn't take 44 people to the regional in Utah where there was already RVPs being developed. He got a bus and took 44 people from Utah and drove them to LA where Jeff Weber was. Now in the 4 months I've been here, I only know outside of a national, one person has been coming after Jamila, but that's why I picked her. Tamika has done it, but she's had some challenges, and now I can say too, now that I'm thinking about it, that have gone beyond just is it a regional or a national to be able to get the information. My point is, it's not about me, it's about how far are you willing to go to get the information necessary to change your own life. Because I could tell you if the Knicks said, look, you know what, Robin? I want you to play point guard for the Knicks, but what you got to do is buy your own ticket, get your own plane, but I'm going to give you a shot. And if you can play ball, I'm going to give you a jersey. I bet you he'll find a way to New York. He's not waiting for them. No, you need to come to, here in Phoenix. and then I'll try out for you here, and if you put me on the team, then I'll get my own team ticket and go to the next. That would be a stupid conversation. Is everybody following this so far?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta go, my point is, you gotta go get your dream.
Mhm.
ACN is about truly delivering your dream. That's what it is. It's amazing. But you gotta want it more than life itself. I don't want ACN. ACN is the vehicle. I just wanna know how to drive it to my dream. The older I get, the less I like people. It's not about ACN, it's not about gig bus, it's not about fiber optics. It's about putting in work. And since I got work anyway, what's the hardest part of this business? Learning to hear somebody say no? Do you want to make some money? No. Do you want to save some money? No. Oh my God, the world's going to end. You think that's hard? Go and try and get a loan.
Mhm.
Go put out resumes and ask for $200,000 a month. What job is going to pay you $50,000 a month? In this economy right now, I challenge you to go get a job. I don't care how many degrees you have in this room. I don't care what you do. I challenge you to go get a job and say, I need at least $500,000 a year, and I'll actually work as an intern on $50,000 to $100,000 the first year, 2 years. So long as by the second year, I'm making at least $500,000 to $600,000 a year. And oh, by the way, I like to do it on a part-time basis. And oh, by the way, I like to create my own hours. I don't mind coming to training. I will only come for 3 hours on Saturday and for an hour and a half during the week. I can only show up physically anywhere for about 5 to 6 hours. I'll work the other 10 hours from home, and I need you to pay me at the end of my term $200,000 a year. That's what ACN is. That's what's freaking amazing, and people play with it. And they come this week, and they don't come the next week, and they come this weekend as well. I don't know, and I have nobody watch the kids. You don't have anybody watch kids because you aren't watching your kids. You go to your job every day. Well, they're at school. No, they aren't. Who's watching them after school? Before school? Is anybody?
Yes.
I'm in this conversation. You got to create a team. Talk about that more later. Location. I love this place. In fact, I've seen the place 10 times worse. You got to understand, I've done home meetings in a alley. I've done it at a home where the actual business partner didn't even show up, and 3 people did, and the house was just open. I've done it.
Yes.
It's crazy. I got stories for you, 17 years. I've done them in the hood where there was a shooting outside, and it was on the border of Crips and Pyrus. I've done it in churches. I've done it at weddings. I actually had somebody have me do a presentation at a wedding. That's the way when they come up, they said, this is like my best brother.
That's a good idea.
I wanted to share 3 minutes of what we're doing to be able to provide for our honeymoon. And underneath your chairs, I told you guys all not to give me any gifts. There was no registry. There's an LOA that used to stand for a letter of authorization for them to sign as a customer. I need each one of you guys to sign up as a customer support my wedding.
Damn.
It's an amazing thing.
So,
Said, I don't have to, that's not going to cost you anything, but you're going to pay us for the rest of our life, and being able to support a marriage that will never have to ever worry about a divorce. Get married again. So I've seen that in a lot of different ways. I've also
that's fun.
done home meetings in elaborate places. There's in Los Angeles. There's a family. There's it was bought by Pavilions. It's a grocery store by the name of Ralph's.
Oh,
The Ralph family is in my downline. They still did Pavilions, multi. They're at billionaire status. And I tried to coach them, and they were uncoachable because they made so much money. That doesn't mean everybody has money as uncoachable, because I have multimillionaires and borderline billionaires now getting in that are very coachable. But it's a different climate today than back then. And so I remember going up to the house. There was Bentleys, Ferraris, Bugattis, everything laid out right in front of the house. The guests that they invited, And then they had others that weren't. And I did 3 meetings for them. And the first one, they had a 7-course meal laid out, king crab legs, everything, maize, everything was there. It's just like, and I remember I had Alice and Chase come and do it with me. I never forget that. And I tried to talk to them after the whole meeting, and I said, you can't do this. They said, no, we can do this every day. I was like, you're missing my point. You can't go off a meeting like this. They said, why don't you want to do the whole meeting? And they acted like they heard me, and they did. I said, because everything we do has to be duplicatable. So you can do this every day. The average person can't do a whole meeting like this, and they're going to get the perception, because perception is their reality, that they have to be able to lay it out like this in order to do a whole meeting.
Right.
And so I coached them, and they did. And then there's others I coached, and they did listen, and it worked. So what I'm sharing with you is this place right here is perfect for 2 things. Now, for the next couple of meetings, that's fine. But, and I'm going to have a conversation with my team later of what's going on with this system to be able to help. But, and I know you guys are here because it's a nice place. There is no cost, and there's no